The alien woman was afraid to approach me. I was shocked when I learned why. It was a quiet day on the outskirts of the human base. The alien war had been dragging on for years with no clear winner in sight. We were stationed in a remote area trying to repair some of our damaged equipment when she first appeared. I had heard of the alien women before, but never imagined I'd encounter one face to face. She emerged from the dense forest surrounding our camp. Her skin was a pale green, almost translucent under the pale light of the two moons hanging in the sky. Her eyes were a deep shade of violet, glowing faintly as she moved. She stood there for a moment, her figure outlined by the flickering campfire, and then hesitated as if unsure of what to do next. I couldn't help but notice the tension in her posture, the way her shoulders were stiff and her gaze avoided mine. For the first few moments, I wasn't sure she was an enemy scout or a refugee trying to escape the war. The way she moved suggested caution and hesitation. Despite her alien appearance, she seemed just as out of place as I felt on this barren planet. I stood up slowly, not wanting to startle her. She flinched at the motion and took a small step back, eyes widening. The fear in her eyes was unmistakable, but I couldn't understand why. I had seen my fair share of enemy combatants before, but this felt different. It wasn't the usual animosity or anger that you'd expect from a soldier facing off against an enemy. There was something much deeper there. "Hey," I said, cautiously keeping my voice steady. "Are you all right?" She didn't respond right away, her gaze flickering to the ground, as if ashamed of making eye contact. I took another step forward, trying to show her I meant no harm, but she backed up again, eyes wide with terror. Her hands were trembling slightly, and I couldn't help but notice the way she clenched her fists as if trying to hold back the fear. At that moment, I realized that this wasn't just an ordinary situation. She wasn't afraid of me because I was human, or because I was a soldier. There was something more. But what? Why are you afraid? I asked quietly, my voice gentler this time. "I'm not going to hurt you." She looked up at me, her violet eyes filled with confusion, and something else I couldn't quite read. Slowly, she took a deep breath, as if gathering the courage to speak. "I'm sorry," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "I didn't mean to disturb you. She trailed off, her words faltering. I waited patiently, not wanting to push her too much. After a long silence, she finally spoke again. "I was told to stay away from humans, to avoid them at all costs." Her words sent a chill down my spine. What did she mean by that? Why would anyone tell her to avoid us? There was no reason for fear unless something had happened to her. Something that I couldn't even begin to understand. Why? I asked, why would anyone tell you to avoid humans? She hesitated again, her eyes darting around, as if expecting someone else to be watching us. "Because they think you'll hurt me," she said, her voice trembling. "They think you'll see me as nothing more than an enemy and kill me." I frowned at her words. I had heard the rumors, the propaganda about the alien race we were fighting, but I never believed them. I knew that most of them were just lies designed to fuel hatred and fear. But to hear one of them say it out loud, it made me question everything I had been taught. "That's not true," I said firmly. "We don't kill without reason. We don't just go around hurting people for no reason." She shook her head slowly, her eyes filling with sorrow. "You don't understand. Where I come from, I am not like the others. I'm different. I'm not supposed to exist." She paused again, as if unsure whether she should continue. "What do you mean?" I asked, feeling more confused than ever. "I am a hybrid," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I was born from a union of a human and an alien. The elders, they saw me as an abomination. They said I shouldn't exist. And so they told me to stay away from humans because they thought I was a threat." The weight of her words hit me like a ton of bricks. A hybrid? A being born from both races? It wasn't something I had ever considered possible. It didn't make sense. I had heard rumors about genetic experiments, but I had always dismissed them as fantasies. To hear her speak it out loud was like a punch to the gut. You're a hybrid? I asked, still trying to wrap my head around it. But how can that be? I mean, how could something like that happen? She nodded slowly, but there was sadness in her eyes. It's not something that was planned. It was a result of a forced union between a human soldier and one of my people. The elders didn't care for what happened. They wanted to erase all evidence of me. But I survived. I felt a wave of sympathy for her. I couldn't imagine what it would be like to live in constant fear of being rejected for something you couldn't control, to be seen as an abomination by both humans and aliens alike. It was no wonder she was afraid. Do you want to go back to your people? I asked, cautiously, not sure if I should push further. She shook her head, quickly, her eyes filling with panic. No, I can't go back. They'll kill me. They'll punish me for daring to live. That's why I ran. I don't belong anywhere. I felt a pang of guilt. Here was this alien woman, this hybrid trying to survive in a world where no one accepted her. She wasn't an enemy or a threat. She was just someone who had been caught up in the chaos of war, someone who had been treated as less than human because of her origins. I won't hurt you, I said gently, trying to reassure her. You're not alone. For the first time since I had met her, she looked up at me with something resembling hope in her eyes. It was a small glimmer, but it was there. Thank you, she whispered. I didn't know what the future held for her or for us, but in that moment, I made a promise to myself that I would do whatever I could to protect her. She didn't deserve to be treated like an outcast or a monster. She was just a person trying to survive. As the moonlight bathed us in its soft glow, I realized that sometimes the greatest enemies aren't the ones we fight on the battlefield, but the ones who are forced to hide in the shadows simply because they are different,